Welcome back. This is the second part of the labor forum here on WRFG 89.23 FM. And Paul is going to sort of take the lead on this interview because he is also a member of Local 732.
Thanks, Diane. We have talked about this issue before, but we want to give people an update. And also, which is a real important part of what we do here as a labor forum, is hear the voices of the people most affected by the issues that we're talking about. And so, first of all, Stanley, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Could you start us off with an overview of the history of MARTA's relationship to MV Transportation and the decision for the work to be privatized?
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. The history, well, we all know it started with the main transportation grant service to the ground, which subsequently they wanted to bring it back in-house. Years later, they came up with another idea on how to circumvent paying decent wages and stuff like that, and they try and outsource it again against community outcry, against the workers' outcry, And they partnered up with MV Transportation, who had taken on two business enterprises to run the Paratransit service. And as of right now, as of February 3rd, we won the arbitration award, and they're just waiting for that process to clear up. The arbitrator told Shawanna they have to bring it back in-house. So we're just waiting for that process to come to a certain.
Okay. Thank you for that. So what we want to get to now is the current conditions and talk to two workers who are presently working for MV, Shawanna, Valson, and Seri Poole. Welcome.
Hi.
So, Shawanna, could you start and just tell us a little bit about how long you've been working for MV and how you feel about the current working conditions, how it is for you?
Okay, well, I started at MV a year ago.
Yeah, go ahead.
I started at MV a year ago. I was very excited working for a bus company. The pay rate was all right back then. They did advise us that we'll be having raises once we made our year mark. I'm now over a year and I'm still at a low rate, which is $12 an hour. It's not fun anymore. The benefits, I don't have benefits because that's like a whole paycheck.
And you were saying living from check to check.
Yes, I live paycheck to paycheck. It's horrible by living paycheck to paycheck. I like to have money left in my pocket. I don't make enough to pay rent, pay a car note, pay insurance, eat, and have gas to make it back and forth to work. I also have to do overtime to make a check to survive. And all these broken promises that they made.
In terms of a raise and
In terms of raises and things that they're going to do, it's just it's heartbreaking. It's like they have a high turnover rate, and it makes you want to leave.
So, Seri, could you talk about how it is for you and healthcare in particular, the benefits that they say they offer, but what that really means?
I've been there for a year as well, and when I started, I was also promised affordable health care, raise at your year mark. I still haven't gotten a raise, and as far as the health care goes, the premium per month is basically over half my paycheck. So just throwing numbers out there, if my check is $700 and my premium is $300, that leaves me money to do nothing. So basically I would be working just to pay for health care. And the pay is only, as she said, $12.
Can I ask, is that the starting pay? Or
No,
is it actually less?
it's actually less. So it's actually less as the starting, and after, I want to say it was 90 days, you receive a raise. The first 90 days.
It was actually it was $10 in training. After training, it was $11.50. After 6 months, we went to $12 an hour. After a year, it was supposed to be at $14.
And going back to the healthcare thing, you were explaining before about there's a line where you have to either make this amount to qualify for Medicaid, but you're on the other side of that.
Correct.
And a premium is too much.
The premium is too much, and the pay that I make is too much to qualify for Medicaid. So you either have to work for MV to provide for your home, or you have to quit MV to pick healthcare. So I have 2 jobs. I have one that I work in the evenings and another that I do part-time during the day to make ends meet.
And one of the things that came up in a show that we did on the Fight for 15 is that if you make a decent wage, then you have time to spend with your family and in the community. If you have to work all the time.
I don't have that luxury.
Right.
So I'm at work
neither do I.
I leave the house 2 o'clock every day. I get off roughly, I'm supposed to get off at 11:45, but sometimes I'm over my bed. I'm off at 1 o'clock, 1:30. So I live almost an hour from the job, so I'm not home till about 2:15. I'm showering, not in bed until 3. Then I have to be back up during school time. I'm up at 6 because I have a 5-year-old son as well as 3 other kids. I have to get ready for school. Now that summer's out, I can sleep in a little longer because my other job, I'm there at 9 o'clock a.m.
And the turnover, one thing that I understand about the disability community is that the people who receive this service, it means a lot to see the same person every day. You establish a relationship.
Right.
Our union members, when we provide a service, we make a connection with the people we serve. And so when there's this turnover, that's upsetting to the riders too. Is that right?
It is. I hear a lot of riders speaking on it like, oh, I haven't seen such and such in forever. Are they fired now? Because we never see the same person over 3 times.
Right.
And can you say a little bit about what's special about your job in terms of the passengers and the things that you have to do?
I've worked in the medical field. I'm a CNA as well. That's my part-time job. So I have a passion for working with elderly and disabled. So to me, I thought this was the perfect job for me. So the other job, I've been there 10 plus years. So I was thinking of leaving that job to come to MV with all the promises that MV gave. Luckily, I didn't. So that's how I'm able to make ends meet. But I love servicing.
Right.
I love people. And I thought, this was the job for me. I like to be around people. But I also want to service them with the best service that I can give them. And working for MV, I can't do that.
Right.
Let me interrupt and ask a question. Because one of the issues when you go really further back was when MARTA was operating the disability transportation, the MARTA Mobility. It was perceived that they, I don't know, maybe deliberately or certainly consciously did not provide the highest level of service. This then prompted a lawsuit by disability organizations over, that the buses broke down or that they didn't arrive on time or a variety of things. Which then provided the excuse for MARTA to say, well, we just can't seem to do this right, so let's subcontract it out to another company. To me, it's comparable to like when public housing didn't do maintenance, and so then the buildings run down, and then you can have a hue and cry about how this is unfit housing, but it's really all because they were wanting to get rid of public housing and turn this vast acreage over to private developers to build other kinds of housing.
Mhm.
So I was wondering from your perspective now, as just having been doing this for a year, whether or not your riders, your passengers, tell you that there's a difference between when MARTA had the service and now?
Well, there's one particular writer. I'll leave his name out, but every time I pick him up, he's always complaining about MV. And he's always complaining about not being picked up on time. He's always complaining about not being picked up at all. He says some of the people are rude. He says like it's a huge difference from MARTA and MV. Actually, he says MV is worse. His words, not mine.
I've gotten mixed answers to that, so, but for the most part, MV is horrible. They hate the people, they hate the drivers, they hate the people behind the phones. So I guess it's mixed.
Well, again, I think one of the things that always in relation to how good a job a worker does is a little bit reflective of how they are treated by management. So if in fact you're so tired because you're doing 2 jobs and 3 jobs, and if you're worried about being able to pay your rent and get your insurance paid, and if maybe even you're sick but you can't take off because you can't miss a paycheck, all these things combine, and so that I think one of our issues that we want to talk about, I'm assuming Stanley is still on hearing all this, is okay, great, is what the difference makes to a worker, regardless of what job you're doing, if you in fact have a contract, have a grievance procedure, know that you have a voice on your job. Could you talk about that a little bit, Stanley?
Well, I mean, I think you put the puzzle together very well. One of the biggest reasons for outsourcing is some of the horrendous things that MPs don't understand. Late trips, poor performance, undertrained staff, and I think it was Shawanna that talked about the turnover ratio. Just off of that alone, it takes time to get familiarized with the service. And it does do something to the passenger when you have the type of turnover. In 4 years, MARTA had a turnover of 246 workers, where some of them probably transferred into other departments. In MARTA, they didn't leave MARTA necessarily, but they went into other departments. In 1 year, MP had 529 separations from their company.
Are you serious? In 1 year?
Yes,
That's 60 a month.
Yeah, that's terrible business. And one thing I do want to point out is, in their contract with MARTA, they agreed to pay workers a reasonable rate of pay. I just want to be faithful to them that they can't honestly believe $11.50 or $12 an hour in 2017 or 2016 when they took over the service. It's actually a fair, a reasonable wage when MARTA wage, minimum wage at the time they took over the service was $12.92, $13 an hour. So how do you go below MARTA standards according to reason?
Could you talk a little bit, Stanley, because you've been on this program several times, and you are a person who seemed to just have such an attachment to the people that you picked up for their doctor appointments, taking them wherever they needed to go. I would like it if you would share again with the listening audience that connection between a person that's driving a mobility van or bus and recognizing how absolutely critical they are to the sustenance of life and any kind of enjoyment of life by a huge population that is either elderly or has some form of disability.
One of the hardest things to do with that how the passenger face actually light up when you pull up and open the door and they see you, your favorite driver. So like you have people that have mental disabilities, and when they see you, they can't verbalize, they just smile. And with that, it makes sure that whatever you're going through is put aside because you see that person. And y'all, it actually works hand in hand. You know, when we look forward to seeing certain passengers, and certain passengers look forward to seeing certain operators, it's a happy family. It's a bond that hasn't been completely broken. It has strengthened it because of this MV company. And honestly, I'm actually a rail operator now, so I get to actually see some of the passengers that I once served as a Paratransit operator on the train. And when I see them, they're just happy to see me. I'm happy to see them, and it's just like, wow, like, when is it coming back in house? When is it going to take you back over? Every time I see somebody, that's what they're asking. And I think that is a $1 million question. And I think that the community and all of us need to pull together in one unified voice, ask for it. When is this going to happen? And I think that is loud enough in itself to set the tone. When is it going to happen? Because it's time. It's time to let the healing process start. We've been very, I think from the union perspective, a lot of us have been very quiet in this process. You know, we haven't raised any noise. We haven't celebrated or anything. What we did was we said it's not right to these passengers. It's not right to the workers. Let's make it right. We want a decision. And the passengers and the drivers are saying, when are you going to make us right? When are you going to bring us back to one unified family?
So, Seri, I wanted to go back to your point about why you were attracted to this job in the first place and how disappointing it must be to not do what you thought you were going to be able to do.
It is. It's very disappointing. You pull up and because you have 40 Signal 40s in one day, and you pull up and you're...
Can you explain that?
Signal 40 is a extra call that they send you, and that's outside of your regular route. So if you send me 3 of those in between me going to my regular route, that kind of pushes me behind. Mm-hmm. And I may arrive at someone's house 45 to an hour late. And the look on their face is if they miss their doctor's appointments or if they're late. It's kind of heartbreaking, and the only thing I can do is say, I apologize, I'm sorry for the inconvenience. Half of them won't go, so I'm going to say, well, I'll go and see if they still see me.
Right, so this is what I think Stanley was saying, is that how important these relationships can be when they work right. But when you have a company like MV, it's straining the relationship, it's making it harder. Do you have any stories like that, Shawanna, of how hard it's been with the Signal 40s?
Well, like what Seri was saying, with the Signal 40s, it throws a wrench in your daily program and it pushes you way behind. Like she said, that they are disappointed. They take their frustration out on you because we're the first thing they see when we're pulling up to their location. When we're pulling up late. So we get verbally assaulted. And I understand, I understand. The only thing I could tell them is I do apologize. Do you want to contact dispatch or scheduling? And it doesn't make sense if they send a Signal 40 and I gotta still go pick up my passenger an hour late, and then knowing that their drop-off time was 30 minutes ago or so, and they're missing an appointment. That's very, that's disturbing.
Well, let me ask about this. So MV doesn't have an additional group of drivers who just would go do these Signal 40s? Does this not make this sense to people? Why would they? You already have an established route. You're supposed to pick up passenger A at this time and passenger B and whatever, and you do this because you've already been given that information when you went on the job, right?
It's supposedly we have 200 and so many passengers. I'll say for our manifest, we pick up John Doe at 8 o'clock in the morning. That's our first pickup. And somewhere around, they'll add somebody else that had to be picked up at 9 o'clock, or that's not in an area that you're in, or that's not going to the area that you're dropping your other passenger off. Now, my thing is, and my concern is, I call dispatch, and I always ask, there's somebody else starting at this time that can go pick up this passenger. Can you add that onto their? No, they won't do it. They don't want to alter or anything. They want you to go. And it really just messes up your whole day.
Yes.
And then you can have an attitude for the rest of the day. You don't want to take it off out on your passengers or anything, because.
Is this the most stressful job you've ever had?
Yes.
I think I have gray.
Yes, it is. I'm sorry, excuse me. I'm from Los Angeles, and I used to do home health aid. It's not a nursing job. I just will go and clean up for people, cook for people, go grocery shopping, help them out. So I like to help people, like Seri. I like to help people and everything. So, and then plus I have a mother that rides a service like this in Los Angeles. So with I understand these passengers. I really do. Like I said, my mom rides a service like this. They're different. They're the same. I don't think MV runs it. So
If I had family, me personally working for MV, if I had family, I personally wouldn't recommend them to use mobility service right now, because the chances are, if you have to pick my aunt up from dialysis, she's gonna ride on the bus 2-3 hours before she makes it home.
Right.
Dialysis, you're tired. Me personally, I don't think that's fair. That's not fair to the passenger to have to come from dialysis or anywhere that they're coming from, to have to sit on the bus 3 and 4 hours. And the only explanation you can give to them is
it's a ride share program.
that's it.
Right.
Well, let me ask, Stanley, maybe you know this. When MARTA said, we can't do mobility, paratransit right, don't ask us why, we just can't. And so instead, we're going to go with another company who tells us that they can. But my recall is that the minute the contract was signed, or even the minute before the contract was signed, MARTA already knew that MV was planning on reducing service. Am I right?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Okay, then that might have just been me.
I'm not aware of that, but I know one of the things the reason for going with MV, because they said MV was way more technical savvy than MARTA, and they could bring a system to reduce the wait time and the lengthy trips and the deadhead on Paratransit. We're 1 year into the service, and unless they introduced it last night, I don't so, and Ms. Poole and Ms. Valson, they're still operating. They could better tell you, have they seen this technology as of yet. I mean, I know firsthand under MARTA, we had a time clock under MV. We used paper for time. They used paper for a time clock. So, they were touted as a technological company, and we don't see this type of stuff with MV that MARTA, some of MARTA reasons why they wanted to go in that direction. Besides the obvious, one thing that we do see that happened with MARTA contracting with MV is over 300 and something employees lost their pension. We did see that. They lost their health care. They lost freedom of living. I mean, I think it's heart-wrenching when I hear two women talk about how in 2017 they're having to live paycheck to paycheck. They're struggling to put gas in their car just to get to work. I mean, when you take all the living glamours away, that's actually paying MD to work for them. And you know, under Marta's watch, and this is actually going on in Atlanta in 2017, when we're supposed to be on the brink of expanded transit. And this is not responsible. This is not responsible at all. Nobody should have to operate, especially Paratransit, something stringent as a service. And I think somebody said earlier, some people don't understand the work that goes into that service.
Mhm.
And they just see that little bus and that's it. And they don't know the big work that goes into that little bus. And I think that's the misconception of that service. That it's a public service, and Paul has been very vocal about it. It's a public service, and it's being ran as a business as of right now. And whether it's a poor or good business doesn't matter of opinion, but it's being ran as a business. And I think that's why we're seeing a lot of the problems we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of the love from the passengers, a lot of respect for the employees taken out of it because it's no longer a public service. It's a business. I need to make dollars. And that's not good for a public entity.
Stanley, do you know how much MARTA claims that it's saved by doing
What
this?
did you say that?
Oh, and
What did you say anyway? Marta doesn't deny it.
Okay, so that's,
It wasn't.
okay,
So we only have a few minutes left, and
we have 1 minute left.
we have 1 minute left. Okay. Is there anything either of you would want to say in terms of a hopeful message about what the workers want to do in terms of the community, or how we can work together to turn this problem around?
Sure, you want
Any
to speak on
ideas?
it?
We can work together to turn this around. Let's see. Only thing I can think about is, as Stanley would say, stand together. And
That's the lesson.
that's it.
Standing, and we do have monthly ATU meetings. The first Tuesday of every month, 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. If you guys would like to get involved on the note of MARTA and MV, you guys can drop by if you wish to.
Okay, and the website for Local 732 is www.atu732.org, and the phone number is 404-223-5122. And I just want to really thank Shawanna and Seri for coming in today.
Thank you, Paul.
These are the voices we want to hear, because you're on the front lines of this struggle to bring public transit up to where it should be, and we just can't. Privatization is not the answer.
All right.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stanley.
Thank you, Stanley.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
You know we love having you on the air.
Thank you,
All
Stanley.
right, so we'll be back again next Monday at 4 to 5 for another program here on the Labor Forum, and stay tuned. Next comes Democracy Now!, and after that, Just Peace. And you know, it's your station for progressive information. Stay tuned.